Good evening. I'm Coach Robinson, and this is the 8th grade mathematical curriculum course. Today's lesson we will be solving division equations. The last lesson we did solving multiplying equations to where we use the opposite mathematical operation to solve the variable. This time we're going to do division problems, and we're going to use the opposite mathematical operation, which is multiplication, to figure out the variable. So let's do the first problem. Example is x over 2 equaling 12. You'll see a problem like this where they won't give you the variable. So how you go about solving for the variable, you have to multiply the denominator by the fraction. So in this case, it'll be 2. And whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other side as well. So since we times our fraction by 2, we have to time this answer by 2 as well. So when you times 2 by x over 2, these 2's will cancel out, leaving x only. So x will equal the result of 12 times 2, which is 24. And you should always be able to plug in your variable into the original problem and get the original equation. So we're gonna 24 divided by 2 equals 12. Okay, look at another example. We have t over 3 equaling 15. Okay, we have to solve for the variable, which is t. So in order for us to do that, we have to times the denominator by the fraction. Okay, so we're going to times this by 3. And whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the opposite side as well. So we're going to times 15 by 3. These 3's will cancel out, leaving your variable t equals the result of 15 times 3, which is 45. And I should be able to plug t as 45 and divide it by 3 and get 15. Another example, we have x over 7 equaling 56. We have to solve for the variable x. In order for us to isolate the variable x, we have to times it by the denominator, which is 7. So we're going to times this by 7, and whatever we times by 7 on the opposite side of the equal sign, we have to do to the other side as well. So we have to times 56 by 7. Okay, so these two 7's will cancel out, and 56 times 7, 6 times 7 is 42, carry the 4. 5 times 7 is 35, plus 4 is 39. So x equals 392, and I should be able to divide 392 by 7 and get 56. So now let's do this example. We have x over 6 equaling 6. In order for us to solve for the variable, we have to isolate it. In this situation, we would do the opposite mathematical operation, which is multiplication, since this is a division problem essentially. So we're going to times x over 6 by the denominator, which is 6. And whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other side as well. So we're going to times this 6 by 6. Okay? These two 6's will cancel out, leaving the variable alone. So x will equal 6 times 6, which is 36. And I should be able to plug in the variable 36 for x and divide by 6 and get 6. This example, we have x over 20 equaling 10, right? In order for us to isolate the variable x, we have to times it by the denominator. This is a division problem essentially, so we have to do the opposite, which is multiplication. So we're going to times x over 20 by 20 on this side, and whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other. So we have to times 10 by 20 as well, okay? 20 times 20 will cancel out, leaving our variable isolated. X will equal 10 times 20, which is 200. And if I plug in 200 for the variable x and divide by 20, I should still get 10. This example, n over 2 equaling 8. In order for us to isolate the variable n, we have to do the opposite mathematical operation. Since essentially this is a division problem, we have to multiply the denominator by the division problem in order for us to isolate the variable n. So we times this side by 2, and whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other side as well. So since we times this by 2, we have to times 8 by 2 as well. Okay, 2 times 2 will cancel out, isolating our variable n. N equals 8 times 2, which is 16. And I should be able to plug in 16 for n divided by 2, and that should give me 8. So that's how you go about checking your problem to make sure you're correct. Let's do this example. T over 4 equaling 12. In order for us to isolate the variable t, we have to do the opposite mathematical operation, which is multiplication. So we have to times t over 4 by 4, and whatever you multiply on one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other side. So we're going to times 12 by 4 as well. 4 times 4 will cancel out, isolating our variable t. T will equal 12 times 4, which is 48. And I should be able to plug in 48 for the variable t and divide by 4 and still get 12. So this concludes the 8th grade mathematical curriculum course. If you need a worksheet or any tutoring, I can be reached at unityservice216@gmail.com. Unity Tutors 216 on Instagram. Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.